Joined now by Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. Good to have you here, Senator Graham, today.
Thank you.
What really stood out to you from this hearing today? It almost feels like sometimes people sort of get used to the war going on in Ukraine and look away from it for a moment, but there are so many implications here.
Well, number one, the assessment that what happens in the Ukraine will affect China's decision about Taiwan is dead on. I was in Taiwan about 2 weeks ago. So what happens in Ukraine does affect all the other bad actors. But what I see is bipartisanship breaking out at a level that I haven't seen since 9/11. Senator Blumenthal and myself have a resolution urging the Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, to designate Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. That would be huge. The Ukrainian parliament last week passed a resolution urging the Congress to urge the Biden administration to designate Russia as state sponsor of terrorism. I think I want to put it in the supplemental package. It's not just money for economic stability, more weapons. We need to designate Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. And here's what the ambassador of the Ukraine told the Republicans today at lunch. If you designated Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism, she believed the floodgates would open to other countries helping Ukraine more.
Okay, with regard to this other question about the escalation of this war, Avril Haines, the DNI, said that the war is going to become more unpredictable and it's going to escalate. And then there's this exchange with Senator Joe Manchin about whether or not the United States might get drawn into a boots on the ground situation. Watch this.
Reading it now, they have the ability to win if we continue to support without us being pulled into a land war with them. On their own, can they win?
I think that is a difficult prediction to make. Right now, I think where the agency is at is a prolonged stalemate should no factor change on either side. In other words, the Russians continue to do what they're doing, and we continue to do what we're doing for the Ukrainians. I see that as a stalemate.
So we're now in a situation where we've spent $11 billion on the war in Ukraine, and there's a proposal for $40 billion more.
Yeah.
What do you say to Americans who look at that and say, what are we getting drawn into here, again, as the money continues to go? And I think most people understand why. But what about the possibility that we could also be drawn into this with our own men and women's boots on the ground?
Well, nobody's suggesting boots on the ground, but if there's a nuclear weapon exploded inside of the Ukraine to break the West's will to help Ukraine, that'd be an attack on NATO itself, then we'd be at war with Russia. You got to let Putin know what happens if he uses chemical weapons. That would be a no-fly zone, in my view. If he explodes a nuke inside of Ukraine, he radiates half of Europe, then that's a full-blown conflict between Russia and NATO. He's not going to do that. He's having a hard time dealing with the Ukrainians, much less NATO. Here's what I would say to all these hand-wringers right now. Have the courage the Ukrainians have. We're providing weapons, economic support, moral support. They're doing the fighting. If Putin wins, there goes Taiwan. If Putin wins, then the map of Europe will be rewritten because he's not going to stop in Ukraine. But if we can stop Putin in Ukraine and take him down over time, the world is a much safer place. The outcome of Ukraine matters to America. If Putin gets away with this, then all the laws about war crimes become jokes. If he loses, then I'm convinced China will take a hard look at what they do in the future, and we need to designate Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism right now because they deserve that designation.
Senator Lindsey Graham, always good to have you here, sir. Thank you
Thank you
very much.